All right, the 30-06 is one of my most favorite hunting rounds. Love it. Love the round. Love the history behind it. It's just awesome, you know. And this build that we're about to do is chambered in the 30-06. This is the Remington 700. It's going to be in an ADL, and it's going to be awesome when we're done. Now, with that being said, I want to mention that you can spend thousands of dollars on builds like this. And I'm not opposed to that at all. It's just that this particular build is not that kind. Okay, it's not that kind of build, if that makes sense. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not after accuracy, beauty, good optics. I still want all that stuff. So yes, money is going to have to be spent, but it's not going to go into that other realm. You know, that's what I like to call it, that other realm. You know, the kind that can get you divorced. So I did just want to mention that. Now, as far as like gunsmithing and stuff like that, anybody can do what I'm about to do. You don't need no huge skill with gunsmithing. Because the most we're going to do is change out the trigger, and that's just a couple pins and a spring. So there's not a lot done there. All of this stuff that we're putting on this rifle you can just buy over the counter, you know. Now, except for the stock. The stock I did have made. There's a few custom things on there that I wanted. And then I had to do some work myself to it as far as staining and then sealing and stuff like that. Because I did go with a wood stock because I'm trying to achieve a old-timey traditional like look on this rifle. I like my deer rifles to be wood. And there's benefits and then there's downfalls. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I think when I'm done with this, it'll be a really nice rifle that I'm proud to own. So let's jump right into the build. Okay, here we are. Your basic standard Remington 700 ADL. All right, here's your trigger housing, your trigger, your magazine well. Just standard. You'll notice that I've left the scope bases on here. We'll plan to use those again. Now, the first thing we're going to do on this build is replace the trigger. Okay, so let's get started on that. Okay, we got the gun in the vise and we're going to remove the trigger, and that's actually quite easy. There is 2 pins that needs to be knocked out, and there's a spring on the other side. So we're going to get to that. All right, here we are. The old trigger is removed. And so we're not going to use any of those parts. We will use the bolt stop. Okay, now that we got the trigger installed, and it was really simple, just the 2 pins and a spring on the bolt stop. Since we have it out, we're going to do a function test. So right there, the bolt stop is moving. That's good. We'll put the bolt in. See what I'm doing here. Alright. And stops. See that we'll push the bolt stop up and release the bolt. That works. Figure out what I'm doing here. There we go. Okay, we'll give it a quick function test. Ooh, I don't know what that is, but it felt about like 3 pounds, maybe even 2.5. I don't know yet, but I'll put it on the scale. But that part's done, and I think it looks good. Let's move on to the next. Okay, moving on to the next step, and that is going to be the stock. And on this particular build, I went with a wood stock, just personal preference. And the individual I bought this stock from did a really good job. Knocked it out of the park. It was a little on the pricey end for a wood stock, but once I got it home, I knew it was awesome. Now it's in walnut, and it just turned out great. Look at that. I had to stain and seal it. Got lucky. I mean, the barrel just floats beautifully in it. It's very nice. Really happy with this stock. And since I've already stained and sealed it, okay, all that's left to do is put the sling swivels in, which is, 2 screws. Now you don't want to take this particular step too lightly, because you could screw it up, and it's wood. Wood requires a little more maintenance. That's the downside of it, and you don't want to get it wet. But we don't want to mess this part up, so we'll take our time. We'll get these in, and it's going to look good. Okay, that turned out, but it could have went bad, So if you do this on wood stocks, I would put it in a drill press. That's the safer bet. But it turned out for me here, and looks good. These sling mounts are 1.25 inches. So they're kind of an oddball. Usually they're 1 inch, so they're a little bit bigger, because the sling I purchased for this build is this buffalo hide single strap. I think it just looks, just cool. It really complements the wood stock. So let's no, let's not put this on yet. Let's move on to the next step here, putting the barrel into the stock. So let's do that. Okay, moving on. We are going to put her all together. Now, another thing that I purchased for this build was this trigger guard. Got it from Hank's Precision. The original one that came with the rifle was plastic. Strangely enough, this is aluminum, and it is kind of shaped a little different. I like it. This was a good buy. So let's put the rifle together. See what we got. So just like that. Okay, looking good. Let's put the bolt in. Very nice. Oh, looking good. Let's throw that sling on there, huh? Okay, she is coming along nicely. Okay, So just to recap, we have put a new trigger in. We have a custom wood stock that is stained and sealed. We installed the sling swivel mounts. We installed the sling. We installed a new trigger guard, aluminum trigger guard. We're going to move on now to our optics. But take a look at this beauty. She is coming along nicely. What do you think of that buffalo hide sling? Straight 1.25 inch, streamline. Looks like a little classic. And I'll tell you what. She feels good. It's almost like it was made for me. Oh yeah. Okay, let's move on to the final step, and that's the optics. Okay, back at the build. So it's been about a week since I left off on this Remington 700 build, and of course we left off on the optics. And why it's taken a week is because I was having trouble finding the correct optics for this. You know, like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I didn't want to go crazy with it. It wasn't that kind of build, but I wanted quality, so I had to find that happy medium. And I think I found it. I also went with a different set of rings too. Let me show you what I got. Okay, here is the scope that we went with. This is the Leupold Varex 3i, 3.5 by 10 by 50. And this is right where I wanted to be as far as price and quality. Of course, you could pick these up between $400 and $500, and you know, Leupold, it speaks for itself. Quality, especially when you get up into the Varex 3 models. As far as those rings go, really excited about these. These are the DNZ Game Reapers, 2-piece. Those are going to look really, really nice. Alright, here we go. Ready to mount the scope rings and bases. Well, I guess they're all in one. Boy, that's going to look nice. Okay, that's going to do it for the Remington 700 build. This rifle turned out a whole lot nicer than I thought it would, and it's going to be one that I'm going to be proud to own for a long, long time. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.